So I hope your last week or so on Sorare has been going better than mine. Don't get me wrong, it has been really fun, as per, of course. I think everyone's loving the new streaks in Sorare 2026. But my luck hasn't exactly been great. Part of that is my fault, and I'm going to just jump straight into it. I'm going to show you all now. We're going to go through it. We're going to go through some of the players. This is my midweek. I've got 2 all-star lineups, but that's not what we're fussed about. So let's go back to last week. I have collected the rewards. I need to get a lot better at collecting the rewards on a video. But, oh well. So we do have the Bournemouth stack at the moment. It's the only cards I'm really going to buy until the international break. So I'm just kind of making the best of a bad situation. Looking at it, I don't think we did badly against Liverpool. The players that did well, I wasn't expecting to. I thought Truffert would do well. Obviously hoping for Evan Nilsson. I knew Senesi wouldn't do well, but he was a guaranteed starter defender. And I really was not sure who was going to start in that midfield. Next week I have a little bit better of an idea, and we are playing Wolves. So it should go much better than it did. For Vicaria, I was pretty confident he'd do well against Burnley, and of course he did. So that's all pretty solid. We're happy with that. We're going to look to slowly add players to the Premier League, and I'm going to come back to this because there's a huge idea I've had about how many points you need and how much money you need to spend. Because I think there is a point in Sorare of which you have to spend at least a minimum amount in order to yield, but we'll come back to that like I said. What else I have been doing, which I think quite a few of you should do, I'm sure some of you will probably get burnt out, is playing the common game mode. And again, I'll come back to that in a minute. As you can see here, we came 20th, which is the final 300. Oh no, it's not. Halfway through. Jordan Pickford, it could have been an even better score, but we did alright. We've got some really strong players. Liga isn't as strong, just because I'm buying the packs for the Premier League at the moment to try and complete them collections. We still did well. Mike Penders, obviously, did great. He's going to be a really solid goalkeeper. And if I do go into in-season Liga, who will be someone to look out for, La Liga, the 2 good players we have are Courtois and Alvarez, and they simply carried us. So that's the start of it. That's the bit that we don't really care about. So the funds that we have invested so far was into JPL, and for this we needed 400 points. Realistically, it was never going to happen. We gave it a good crack with this lineup here, 346 points, but again, Westerlo, they just keep getting battered at the moment, and they're not really helping out. Obviously, the DMP goalkeeper didn't help. Tatrawi finally had a good score. It's been a while, and I've been waiting for it, but it's good to see. We're going to have to come back to JPL probably at the end of or after next week, because we need 250 points for next week. Hopefully, we can hit it, and if we can, that's going to be great. But I just think that I need to really reassess what I want to do with JPL. In terms of ROI, we've actually done pretty well so far. Let me just pull it up here, because it was the league that I know the least about, and probably the hardest one for that matter for me, because Contender I've been playing for the last 6 months or so. Challenger as well, there's some crossover, and you can somewhat understand it. I also feel like the players are quite cheap for Challenger. So yeah, so let's have a quick look here. And also with Prem, I know the league the best, so that's why I'm able to do well in it. JPL, I have very limited knowledge. I tell you that Bruges are good. My camera keeps freezing. That's not ideal. I tell you that Bruges are good. So if we go here to the JPL. So I need to add a couple players, but I will get to that in a moment. Current exposure of £51, which I don't think is that bad going into it. We've spent £78, made 14 in sales, 11.91 in return. Sakamoto has dropped in price a lot, but luckily we've made back what we spent on him. I feel like the early weeks you were never really going to make a long-term ROI. It was more just paying off the extra amount that you put in. Like I said, I've signed a couple more players that I need to add to this in a moment. But that's how JPL's looking. Hopefully we can maybe begin to look to add a couple more lineups, but obviously next week they are not as many teams playing. MLS is my throwaway, and it was actually my best lineup. 411 points, which is really solid. I just threw this lineup together because it's the best players that I have. So I got $3 from this lineup, which is great. Challenger. Challenger is where I feel the strongest right now. Challenger is probably where I have the best players. It's just what I'm doing the best at, to be honest with you. Obviously, the 100 here, these players just all doing no DAs but all solid AA. This one had more DAs but obviously was hurt by the DMP. I think it was the DMP. Yeah, just didn't play at all. The players are there. None of the Scottish players played this weekend, and obviously I've got more to add to that. So Challenger is somewhere that if we go back to the spreadsheet, I think we have more exposure currently. Yeah, $68.64. We've not sold as much, but we also have less expense. I believe I've only hit the bottom streak in Challenger, funnily enough. Next week I should hit the second one, given the score there. Let's have a quick look. I'm going to open this in a new tab just so I can keep this page. So we go here. Yeah, so Contender we obviously hit without spoiling it. We were never going to hit the Premier League. The Challenger we hit the bottom one. So yeah, $10 next week would take another big chunk out of this. It takes you about $60 in exposure with a really solid team that can hit this second streak as it is. I think there's going to have to be a little bit more investment if I want to hit the third and fourth streak, but we'll think about that. I'm not 100% sure yet how I want to do. Contender, there is nothing else going into it. I hit the 250. It was tough. It was really tough because obviously so many of my players are from Rosario. They were doing so well and then they conceded a really late goal here, which, you know, if that hadn't have hit, I would have hit the 330 points for this one. So obviously I captained Browen, would have hit that, and I would have got the $40 payout. So that was a really big hit. I don't know, just a team that I do like, but I think I'm going to look to try and transition into Europe over time. No one except this weekend, but hopefully, you know, in future weekends we'll have them. And the throwaway lineup was actually the one that did the best. So it is what it is. All-Star, not much really happened there, but again, more training than anything else. Hamid Traore got an assist, which, you know, is very surprising. Now, if we go to this week, I have thrown together some provisional lineups. Again, Premier League, we don't have the strongest players right now. Like I said, we are at home to Wolves. David Brooks is not going to be my captain. I think I'm going to try and bring in a player. I'm not too sure yet because I said I didn't really want to. I'm going to top up probably around the international break and put some more in there. This will be the throwaway lineup. Obviously, Dango Ouattara is now at Brentford, so that's actually quite nice for me to have that other option. He'll probably be one of their better players or their starting players, considering how much was paid for him. Alex Scott and Senesi, yeah, guaranteed to start. I'll probably try and get Diakite in there, but oh well. This is my common lineup, which is actually really strong now. So I'm hoping I can just print common essence to try and get their market credits, because what is it? There's 4 leagues. You can get $5 from each. There's 20 teams in all but Liga, I think, and maybe Bundesliga. So yeah, let's just say there's 20. What you're looking at there, like $400 if you complete it in $400 in market credits. That's really big, especially if you can just keep it ticking over and, you know, you get towards the start of next season. So that I'm really going to play. Try and complete as many of them as I can. I don't expect to complete them all, but let's just see what we can do there. Liga, again, we've got Zabani, Mike Penders, Akliuchi, can't pronounce his name, another strong team, and we got a Yamal. So again, I'm really set in common for the season. Bundesliga has just come out. I bought 1 pack and I got a Neuer in, so my goalkeeper is set for the season. But yeah, the rest of it is a bit shaky. Jupiler, there's not many teams playing, so I bought a Ferraro and this guy up top here. Again, I just need to hit that bottom level streak, 250. If I can do that, which I think is doable with this, I need to add these cards to my spreadsheet, but I will do that afterwards. MLS throwing out again. If I can hit it, great. I somehow doubt it. I've got Anthony in here. I don't actually know if he's back playing, or if Kelvin Yeboah is the better choice here. If there is someone else. No, he is back, but it's not an easy fixture. Pereira did well last game. I've got a feeling Romero is going to do alright, because he's actually done some decent scores recently. So let's go with that there. And then let's come out back down to MLS. Challenger. Again, there's quite a few teams, I think, that aren't playing. Where can I go to? Let's have a look at Challenger. a lot of teams that aren't actually playing next week. So we've got some of the Scottish teams, not all of them. I need to hit 300 points. This should be strong enough to do it. Like, it really, really should. I mean, I've got no more goalkeepers that have any games. Yeah, I've got quite a few goalkeepers here now. Obviously, 2 Scott Bains, and in Season 1, which I haven't yet to use, but, you know, it's a nice card to have. We've got the defenders, a few Serie A. Obviously, Jan Bednarak should do really well at Porto. Jamie Lawrence is probably the best one out of these, isn't playing this week. But again, just nice to have some options. Spencer Ross, you can see it's just full Kirk. I probably need some more midfielders, but this is just what we're going to go with. And hope that one of them can hit it. I'm not too fussed about, you know, at the moment, bringing more reinforcements in. This guy I got in a... crafted him. And he looks alright, to be fair, for what I'm trying to achieve at the moment. So I'll take it. Like I said, I'm not expecting too much from it, but anything can do. Now, I haven't actually built my contender lineups yet. I'll do that now. My rare one is just basically the rare players I have left over. I just want to hit the $20, and I think I'm going to sell because right now I'm pretty happy with just competing in limited. I don't have the budget to go up to rare. Hopefully one day, you know, I'll get to that point. But right now we're just going to do what we can. So the first lineup, Browen's probably the best shout. Again, I mean, like, he either does really, really well or struggles. And either Quintana or Sanders. I'm going to say Quintana. He had a bad game last week. I don't expect 2 bad games in a row. Now, one is at captain. It's probably a good shout. We'll come back to that. Let's have a look at the forward options because we may be struggling a bit. Yeah, I've got a lot of classic options now. Jesse Lingard is probably a Team 2 player. Probably here, and then midfielder will go one at Zek, captain him, I would assume. Because what do I need to hit? I need to hit 300. Let's just put in right now let's put in Capetti. We're not going to use Capetti, don't worry about that. This is just kind of a placeholder player to see what else we can get together. So that's lineup 1. Again, I like to use Browen and Sanders for my second one, but it kind of screws me if one of them doesn't play well. So go with Lee Chang-Guang, and we can go for Anton here, because he's been doing better out of him and Kim Moon-Hwan. No games for this player here. Rayan Ravaloson, but I probably wasn't going to play him anyway. Lee Chang-min has done well. Lee Dong-yong is home, so we'll go with that. Do we go Cecilia? Or do we go Di Maria? I probably go Cecilia. But the way I've got to look at this, if this is my second lineup, I don't want to be thinking about my other ones. I want to be thinking, okay, who is my best option here? Lee Chang-min, probably. We'll go with him then. It's got to be Cecilia captain. He's had a couple, he's done alright. Had a few blanks. So I think for here, I've got to go for, again, if I'm thinking about putting up my best team, you've got to go for Jesse Lingard. Ulsan have been poor. Every game I've watched them, I haven't liked, which is why I saw my Bojanic, because he was priced well, but just wasn't getting the scores. But I think it was through no fault of his own. Now, for this lineup, we'll go for the classic stack that I like to always just throw out. We'll put Di Maria in there. He's done okay, but he only gets DAs on like penalties. Rosario just haven't been scoring many goals, to be honest with you. Final player, we will go for, I don't like Campaz, Malcora probably. We will captain Di Maria. And then for the final lineup, let's have a look. Again, we've still got quality down here. The goalkeeper is very much lacking at this point. Otter did okay in the last game. We'll probably go for Uday Kot. And then we'll go for Kim Jong-hyun. For that pairing, the best option I have here is not great. Jimin Q has been doing better, but he's against Yang, so I probably don't want to do that. Angel Correa has done alright. And is there anybody? He's my classic card, so I can only now have in season. Let's have a look for the in season cards. Park Chang Yong. Yeah, we'll go with that. Again, it's the third lineup. We'll give Correa the captain. C, yeah, in case he gets a goal. And then my contender lineups. Again, just hoping for just to hit that. There's enough quality there, I feel like, to hit 300. I'll be upset if one of them doesn't, especially this first one. You know, there is a lot of good players in here. But anyway, back to what we were discussing. Premier League. So obviously the players I've got are all Bournemouth players, which is great when we have a good matchup. We don't, as we saw in the Liverpool game. And if we go back to it, they played well, don't get me wrong. Let's have a look here. Evan Nilsson. I just want to go back to the results of the Liverpool game. Now, Evan Nilsson is a player that, you know, if he plays well, he got 3 penalties against Wolves last time. He was on the bench. Did he not come on? I'm trying to think. I thought he did, but probably definitely wrong. Wow, his price has gone up surprisingly. Yeah, David Brooks probably won't play all season. Tavernier was solid. Semenyo was great. I need a Semenyo. I need an in-season Petrovic. Diakite, I like. What was his negative AA for? Just conceding goals. Yeah, he looked like you take that out again in another game. Obviously, if we keep a clean sheet there, his passing was better than that, I thought. You take out the how many goals did Senesi concede? 4 as well. Yeah, he just looked much better of the two, and is definitely someone that I'm gonna pick up. He seems to do all right as well. Maybe Wolves is the kind of game where, you know, he can do well. But I need him. I need Semenyo. I need Petrovic. I then also need a Junior Krupi, but I don't think he's going to play that much, and his price is quite high. I think it's just going to come down as people realise because his last 15 is really good from when he was at Lorient. And I got a Ben Doak as well, of course. I'm sure he'll come off the bench, so I'm sure his price will come down even further. So we'll wait for that to happen. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to buy a Zabani because I don't play Ligue 1 and it would be a waste of money. But then we've got everyone else, and it just feels nice to like have the team that you support. What I was saying, however, is, and I'm going to do the research on this. I don't really have the time at the moment. As soon as I do, I'm going to look into it in full depth and give you a report. But with streaks, you obviously have to hit 360, the lowest one. I think it's 360, 380, 400, 420, 440. Let's say, for example, you're just aiming to try and get to the third streak on average. So let's take that as 400. This is just going to be very simple maths. So your average player needs to get 72 points. Okay, if you're to hit the, dividing it by 5.5, because you obviously get the captaincy bonus, you need to hit 72.72, which is a lot of points. If, for example, we say that 72 is, what am I trying to say? Let's say you have, in total, you can get up to 20% on every single player, which, is it difficult? Probably. I mean, you get 5% in season as it is, 5% collection bonus, 5% level, or a variation of that. And let's say you got multi-club bonus, let's say you got 3% and they're all level 5. So let's say you need the average player to be L15 of 60, and they vary between 40 and 80 depending on the matchup. So, you know, if we've got like a Robert Sanchez in goal, he'll get 80 against, well, that's probably a bad example because he's a goalkeeper. Let's say you've got Caicedo. He'll get 80 against Wolves because Wolves aren't a great team, and he'll get 40 on average against Liverpool because it's a tougher opponent. So you're obviously going to pick players based on their matchup, and that rating can change. You know, sometimes teams struggle. You can't always, like, that's not a hard and fast rule. But if we say that is, let's stick with Caicedo as an example. He's obviously got better over the last year. And yeah, look, he has a last 15 of 60. I didn't actually know that before, I just guessed. So, nice. let's go to Premier League only, because that's what we care about right here. So yeah, 68 against Palace. Obviously, he struggled against. He got 52 here, 44. You know, you can't really judge, but you would assume. Okay, against City, he's going to struggle. Against better teams like Brentford, he's going to do all right. West Ham. These are again decent teams. Is that Spurs? It's Leicester. They've gone relegated. Yeah, see, Leicester he does well. Did well against Spurs. But that's kind of the rule that you're looking for. So you want players that can hit that score on average, 60 on average, and you will pick them based on their matchup. Probably put them in lower lineups if they're against Liverpool, and you know, if they're against Palace or West Ham, you'd be like, right, he's going straight in my lineup, he's going to do well. That must mean that there is probably a minimum spend that you need to have, because we're saying that his upper bound is on average 80. Obviously, you can break this, and the lower bound is about 40, which you know is pretty consistent. There's obviously occasions where this goes below this. This can happen with any player. Of course, it can. It's so rare. It's real life football. Now let's take a player like Lewis Cook. As much as I love him, he doesn't do well on Sorare, and as he probably shouldn't. Yeah, he averages 44. He has an upper bound of, let's say, 65 and a lower bound of 25, 35 probably. You can see here the lower bound, of course, is that case. You know, he has games where he gets a couple of DAs, he does really well. But 65, yeah, he can get up to 60, 65, so that's probably about accurate. He has a variance of 20. This will probably change player to player, and I'll do this in my research. He's much cheaper. He is £1.20. You could put together a team of, or you could have a collection of 20 Lewis Cooks. You're not going to see any return on investment at all. And if we talk about this purely from a percentage point of view, you need to hit the bottom streak, what, like 5 times across the season? 6 times across the season? You're obviously not going to get a keeper for that price, and there's so many caveats to that. But yeah, he's not going to play the next couple games. I'll throw him in a couple lines just for XP because I need players from time to time. And he can have a good game. He does really well for them. He's a really important player. But there must be, and I'm going to try and work it out based on, let's say we take players from different price points. I'll take a variety of players from different teams as well. What is the minimum spend that you need in order to be able to compete? Because like I said, I could pick Caicedo against City and he gets 30. I've paid £60 for that player and he's done as well as Lewis Cook would against West Ham, right? That's probably on me for picking him into a bad matchup when, let's say, I don't know, Liverpool have Leicester that game. So my question is, what is the amount that you need to probably spend to be competitive? So I built a bit of a shopping list. It's not on here, but let's say, for example, you want 4 teams. You want 4 different goalkeepers. You know, that didn't work at all, as I was hoping it to. You need 4 different goalkeepers. You need 4 defenders. Because I'm going for 4 liners. I don't care about collection bonus and them kind of players. Obviously, you'll need to factor that into your cost. Let's say you need 4 mids. And you want them from different teams, different types of players that can probably do well. You're not just going to have an entire team of smashers, because you're probably not going to return that in the long run. Like, obviously some players do. Like, I watch a lot of Nepenthes. That's what he loves to do. He will get the best players, and I'm really intrigued to see how he does in terms of, you know, his return on the end of the game. Whether he will be up by just buying the smashers. I think it will be in certain leagues. Like Challenger I can see working, Contender, maybe even Ligue 1. I struggle to see in La Liga and Prem. Obviously now you're playing against yourself as much, especially at limited level. The way I look at it now is I mean, he's not playing at limited, but limited to return, you can do it purely just by playing streaks based on the prices. Rare, you need to have some streaks and some leaderboards. Obviously super rare, there is no streaks. You can only get it from leaderboards. So the higher you go, the less you rely on streaks, is my logic of looking at it. So therefore, if I'm playing limited, I'm basically only playing against myself, and that's what I do most weeks. I don't look at the leaderboard. I look at the essence I get. Like, I got like 500 essence this game week, and I was like, oh, that's pretty low. wasn't a great week. Oh well, move on. Whereas before, that would correlate to cash. I would have got no cash, but like, this is an awful game week. I've ranked really, really lowly. But now I just simply don't care. So, the kind of players that I mean is, let's say for example, you probably want to avoid the really bad teams unless there's someone that's really good or really well priced. So for me, I'm obviously going to have a Petrovic. I actually think he's a good keeper in the game. So much. I have a Vicario as well. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 C's. I don't really care. Again, he was pretty cheap for what I paid for him. He's going to be a Champions League goalkeeper, so you've got that as well. Then let's say you want a David Raya, playing for one of the better teams in the league, and you go for a Jordan Pickford. Obviously, you can interchange these type of players, but that's kind of what you want. Now, the first question I was thinking is, I didn't mean to pick 3 players from London clubs, is what it is. The first question I had is, so I'm going to go for True Fair here, because I've got one. And I think he's very matchup dependent. He's going to have some good matchups, but he's not that expensive for it. Then you probably want like a mid tier, and then you want like a high tier. Someone who's going to smash most game weeks. You know, he would be in your lineup 1. I also hear like other people like Quinny talk about, you know, when you buy a player, you want to buy them for that first lineup. And I always think, is that a case of, you know, you want to put players in who are gonna probably smash it every week, or you're alright having your True Fairs who, you know, 50% of the time they're not going to do great, but when you've got your West Ham, when you've got your Wolves next week, you'll put them in a tier, like a second tier lineup, or maybe in a first if they're doing really, really well and on form. That's where I kind of sit on that point, so I'm not sure. Then probably, let's say you have someone like a Lenny Euro or a Delict. Delict looked tidy. This is me just throwing players off. You probably want someone really like high class, like let's say a Van Dijk, and then someone kind of in the middle, maybe like I don't know, like a Harto. Okay, I don't even know if he's gonna play. Did he even play? Let's have a look. And this is, I'm gonna follow up this video. He didn't play. He was on the bench. I'm sure £4.71. That seems awfully cheap. I would expect him to get a lot of minutes. Who played for Chelsea? Yeah, he's got to get game time. Who else was on the bench? Fofana? I'd expect Fofana to play. Cover him at left back. This could be a cheap little pickup. I thought he would have been a lot more expensive than that. I'm going to keep an eye on him. And the camera's frozen again. Lovely. But that's the example. Then midfielder, I mentioned Caicedo. He's a great pick. Midfielder, I really am stuck for thinking of players. You could go for like probably not a Bergvall. He's not the type. Like a Gibbs White. A Gibbs White is probably like a solid midfield pick. Not someone who's going to smash, like a Saka. And we've probably got 2 really big hitters in midfield, but there is a lot. I actually have Bruno Fernandes, to be honest, because I think he's less matchup dependent than Saka and just seems to do a little bit better. For that final midfield spot, let's go for probably a Bournemouth player, since I have them and I know them best. Tavernier did really well. I don't think he'll continue to do so. I like Christie. Okay. Again, matchup dependent. Could make it into your first lineup. Cool. Forward options, obviously Semenyo has to be in there for us. You're going to look at someone like is Cole Palmer's a midfielder, is he not? Or this tells you how much I use high players. This will probably be the first season where I really look to actually get some of the better players. Yeah, he is a forward. I'm guessing he has midfielder cards as well in the history, but yeah. Cole Palmer's a forward. Cole Palmer's a difficult one to judge, like whether you think he's going to do well or not. Then you probably want someone a little bit lower down, maybe like a Bowen. And let's finish with a Solanke. There's probably not an out and out. Let's upgrade Palmer to Salah. Okay, this is kind of what you're looking at. Now I think the spread here is good. You've got players that have good matchups, can do well. I'm going to take these players. Obviously, you need the extras. Let's just do this quickly. I'm going to try and get a defender, a midfielder. So who are my defenders? I've got Truffaut, De Ligt, Van Dijk, Harto. I've got no City players in here. Let's go for a Vardy is probably a bit too expensive for this point of view. Let's go for a Reynildo from Sunderland. We don't have any really shit players. And then you want another midfielder. Again, I probably do need a City player. Is Cherky a midfielder or is he a forward? I think Cherky's going to get a lot of minutes. I really doubted it at first, but I think he could be someone that... he is a midfielder. Yeah. Again, not a bad price. Someone to look out for. The other thing you've got to think is you're going to get DMP, so you do need that second lineup to be there in case that does happen. Finally, we've got Bruno Fernandes in there. Probably want, let's say, Ekitike. He looks like he's going to smash. And you want another really, really good forward player. Let's put in the Saka. Why not? Probably a bit heavy on really good players here. But this is probably a nice little spread. Now, if you go away and look at all of these players, take their last 15 average, they're probably all pretty good scorers, apart from maybe like Christie, Reynildo, Harto. I think that this formula is probably the best way to look at streaks. I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to go through every single one of these players, work out how much they cost, and work out and take their L15 as well. And then we can have a look at what you can expect to hit in streaks, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm back. I've gone through all of the players. I have taken their total value. Let's say if this was going to be our gallery, how much would this cost us? £800. Wow. Okay, that's a lot more than I thought it was going to be, to be completely honest. Obviously, you can have a classic player. Cool, is what it is. So, I'm trying to remember. I think it's 5. Does it go 5, 10, 25, 100, 500? Or is that the other? Let's have a look. So rare streaks. I can't actually remember what the Premier League ones are. I'm sure it will tell you here. Let's have a look. Oh, that's the MLS one. I don't care about that. Let's have a look. Just give me the Premier League ones. I think it's 525. Here we go. Full breakdown. Maybe for the other one that I'm thinking. Okay, so it's 10, 20, 100, 400, 2000. No, that's doubled. 5, 10, 50. Yeah, 5, 10, 50, 200, 1000. Okay. It's 5, 10, 50. What was it? 200, 1000. So if you put in $100, okay, and this is, let's have a look, 360, 380, 400, 420, 440, and you've got 38 game weeks. So 808, let's say, equals this divided by 38. You need to be yielding $20 a game week. So you have to be hitting this 4th streak at least once in the season. And that's saying that every other week you will hit 5, 10, 50, miss. So that takes 4 game weeks. So let's say you've got, that'll equal 65 times 4, because that's how much you can get across that time period. You're not going to be making this. You have to hit 420 points. So you've got to be in the right place to do it to begin with. Do you think that with $200 or with you could hit 420 points at the right time with these players? This is obviously with no collection boost. You know, you're going to have a little bit, you're going to have some XP. So let's say that each player is at, I don't know, 1.1. You've got to have the right matchup. Certain players you would say are matchup proof. Fernandes, maybe Caicedo, well, as matchup proof as you can be. Van Dijk, obviously Pickford, because every matchup is against him. What's surprising is Raya and Vicario don't do as well as I would have thought, but I guess they won't get as many saves. There's so much to consider. If I was to, let's say for example, I was to spend £400, okay, I don't want to buy, I think Raya is too expensive, let's say. Van Dijk, definitely too expensive for my budget. Bruno Fernandes, can forget about him. Maybe get him as a classic, let's say. And we don't like Saka, because 49 for £80, absolutely not. This is what we're now working with. 463, you need to average £12 a week. You take out some of your big hitters and have a more diverse range. Let's say, for example, do you think this is doable for the average person? I mean, like I said, you've got to hit 420 points. You've got to hit 400 points like every week, pretty much. Part of me thinks that but let's say, for example, okay, completely changing my point of view, you're going to get $15 every $15 every 3 weeks. You have a squad that is able to hit 380. Okay, so like I said, 15 times 3 is $15 averages $5 a week. $5 times, sorry, I can't see around my microphone, that's why I'm leaning. $5 times 38. £200. Do you think a £200 squad could regularly hit you these two? I would suggest that you're much better off just going for a little bit more expensive and like trying to squeeze out an extra 20 points, buying that, Bruno Fernandes that is a bit more, maybe just having a more diverse gallery that has like a Manchester United stack as well as a Chelsea stack, so when one team has a bad matchup, you can go for the other one. My suggestion would be, you realistically need probably about $300 to have a chance at hitting this. I also think there comes a point where you can win this $1,000 for 440, but some people have massive galleries. This is only at limited as well. Rare, it's even harder to hit. You need leaderboard as well as limited. Leaderboard as well as streak is what I meant to say. Yeah, I mean, just looking at some of these scores, like, I think Delict will improve. I think Truffet will go down. I think Harter will do okay. These are probably about accurate. I think Christie will improve. He was just injured towards the end of the season. Again, about accurate. Semenya will probably drop. Like, you take the average of, if you were to add these together, none of them are at that 60 that we said. To hit the 400, none of these are at 60 every week. Caicedo is, right? And obviously Cherky, but Cherky's is going to come down. It's not going to stay around there. So you need to be picking them in the right matchups. And this is not even including DMPs. I think you need about $300, $400 invested in Premier League at least to have a chance at hitting the streaks. I could be wrong. People will probably prove me wrong. But I think for the average player. So I think that's probably what I'm going to aim to do. At the moment, like I said, we bought the Petrovic, we bought the Vicario. We are currently sat at about, I don't know, 80, well, let's say £90. And that's without picking up my Semenyo, picking up all my other players, and getting that collection boost. It's going to be tough. But I also think that if you can get that right out right, get the right players, and like I think some of the Man United players look really, really cheap given their fixtures that you've got up. Like I said, I'm really keen to see. I've got a spin. Nice. I'm really, really keen to see how, Bournemouth, for example, do this week. Miss. Classic. Against a team like Wolves, to see if this theory does work. Like, if I can put together a lineup that can hit the bottom. I want to be hitting the bottom streak this week. Like, that's for sure. Like I said, I'm sure I'm going to need to replace. Truffet can probably stay. Evan Nilsson is very hit or miss. Do I need a Semenyo for this weekend? Probably. He'll probably be the guy I get. This lineup I'm not expecting much for. But I'd like to be able to hit the streak with what I have, with a Bournemouth stack against a weaker opposition. And I think that will very much put my mind into place about this. And like I said, when I've got a bit more time, I'll do the complete research and work out where I think that level, completely doing all of the numbers, all of the averages, all of the variance of scores. I could even have a look at Ligue 1 because, it is, like we say, a very PSG dominated league, but that only matters for leaderboards. That doesn't matter for yourself. Like, if you've got who did well in League this weekend? Let's have a look at a Mike Penders, right? How much is a Mike Penders? He's probably expensive, and I probably look like an idiot after saying that. £40, like, compared to all of the Bournemouth keepers, like, all of the Bournemouth keepers, all of the other goalkeepers, he's above Petrovic, below Vicario. How much does I don't know, Lyon aren't going to be any good. Who is actually going to be good from Ligue 1 this year apart from PSG? Monaco probably. You would suggest Monaco. Yeah, Monaco won at the weekend. Lorient won too. No, they didn't. They lost. Ignore me. How much does a Monaco collection cost you? Like Zakaria. Eric Dyer's at Monaco. What? Like 60 player for 38.49. It just looks as though the Prem is difficult to hit, but it's the most rewarding for me if you do hit it, because obviously I enjoy it the most. It's got my favourite players in. Is Pogba back? When's Pogba back? But you see what I mean. He'll be really low on the average score. Yeah, Paul Pogba. Like, Monaco could be fun, Ligue 1 could be fun, La Liga could be fun. All of these, if you get the right amount, and I don't have the budget to go into it all the time to research all of it. But if you can work it out, then I don't see why it couldn't work out for you. Maybe even looking at some of these players, a rare, and I don't know what the balance would be for that. But I think this is just I know I kind of went on for a longer time, so I do apologise. Most of you probably aren't here at this point, so if you are, say hi. It's just a thought. I'd like to know all of your thoughts on it, and whether it's worth going to other leagues. Right now, I'm just going to stick to Prem, put in a decent amount, because I think you can't be half-hearted in anything in this. You've got to go all in, and I think that's why I'm going to try and cash out of Contender. Once I've seen, I think this lineup can do well, provided my players sell, which again is difficult for Contender to sell them, or rare cards. I think we stand a really good chance at doing all right. My Contender here is not half baked. I'm happy with the players I've got. I've got some decent players for Challenger, could be stronger. JPL is half baked, so I need to reassess that. But like I said, we'll go through it all. But this is just me kind of spewing what has been on my mind. So I'd like to hear what you all think. But yeah, in the meantime, I'll see you next time. And yeah, hopefully have fun, hit some streaks, and I'll see you soon.